What I'd like to do now is to introduce Tamra Johnsen, who is the BEC's Executive Director. And Tamra will set the stage for this morning's program. Tamra's been with the BEC and their Executive Director for the past 27 years and was previously a high school English, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that, imply that was a really long time. Previously a high school English teacher, a coach, and a union president. And I can say, having personally worked with Tamra for the past number of years, she is one of the most passionate people I know to advocate for quality education and making learning real. Thrilled to introduce Tamra.
Thank you.
I just also wanted to thank Veneers, Christine, and Veneer Software for our little slinkies here. Those are compliments of them. You can kind of play with them, while you're eating and listening. And then also you have in front of you is just a little gift from the Business Education Compact, and that has just a few, copies of materials, about us too, and that's something that you can take back or use at your office. If you'd like additional information, we have some handouts over here, that if you want to take it back to someone at your office or a colleague, please feel free to pick those up then, after the breakfast too, and those are there for you and to take home. So I really appreciate all of you coming to our first annual Make Learning Real breakfast, and there are just lots of great nonprofits in the community, but we are here to really have you learn a little bit more about what makes us unique among all the nonprofits you could be involved in and supporting. We hope that you leave here today with lots of information about why, and at least understanding of what we do in the community for education. So who are we? We're a board of business and education leaders who are truly passionate, and passionate's in one of our, practically our mission statement, because we live that every day, our staff and our board members. And so truly, we are wanting to ensure the success of every student in our schools. Our spark in the beginning was the 1983 Nation at Risk report that stated our schools are being eroded by rising tide of mediocrity that threatens our very future as a nation and people. Some of you are probably too young to remember that report, but I was a teacher union president at that time, and that's how I became quite engaged with the Business Education Compact and so passionate about professional development for our teachers so that we can change that tide. So our BEC pioneers really took that report quite seriously, embraced a strategy of linking educational reform and economic and workforce development. And we do that by partnerships, through partnerships with our K-12 schools, our higher ed institutions, and of course business people like many of you in the audience today. And so we've taken big steps, and even though we've reached nearly 500,000 students and teachers through our programs, and that's a staggering number when we added that up, over the years. But to really think that we have reached that many, we are not satisfied and will not rest until we see success for every student in our schools. And so we've taken big steps in identifying some of those issues that we have in the state. Oregon state standards have been now around since the 90s, and so we have specific learning targets that we want our students to come out with out of school, and we want them to be able to achieve. Our teachers are hard-working teachers in all of our classrooms, but they are in a profession that's very complex, that's challenging, demanding, and constantly changing. And so we want to be able to help support them in their efforts to reach every student. So why is our work critical? Why should you be concerned? Everyone says, oh yes, I really support education. But I think it's more urgent than what we feel, than what you may know. And that is to consider that only 66% of freshmen entering Oregon high schools graduate. If you are a minority, your chances are more like 50-50. Consider that only 50% earn a college degree within 6 years. And for those who enter college, a large percentage requires remediation. That's why we are committed, and that's why we feel a sense of urgency, and that's why we need to have more people join us in this effort. So how we do that will be told through the voices of people who participate in our programs today, and we're so proud of the teachers, the students, the business people who do participate and help us. And we hope that after today, after you hear their voices, you'll also want to participate. So I'm going to now have Morgan Anderson be our first guest. She's with Intel. She's the Northwest Region Higher Education and Government Affairs Manager, and a longtime BEC friend and supporter.
Hey.
Good morning. So I don't know about you, but when I pick up the paper, it seems like I read about two things about schools. It's either test scores or failing schools. We don't hear much more beyond that. But we all know there's so much more that's happening in our individual classrooms. So I want you to do something for me. Go back to your K-12 experience and think about the class that you hated the most. You hated it. It was boring. It was miserable. Not the subject, but a specific class. You guys all have that class because I might call on you. Okay. Now think about your favorite class. Might have been a third grade class that you had. It might have been middle school, high school. Not specific subject again, but your favorite class. Now think about the contrast of those two. Now I'm guessing with your least favorite, it was unengaging. You probably had a teacher who stood up in the front of the room and just talked at you. You probably weren't very involved in your learning. And my guess is you spent most of the time looking at the wall clock thinking, when is this going to get over? With the second class, my hunch was you had probably one of your hardest teachers, because our favorite class is never the easy teacher. It's the one that challenges us, the one that engages us, inspires us, and keeps us active doing different exciting hands-on projects. Very different classroom environment. That second classroom, that second experience that you loved is what the BEC is all about. The BEC makes learning real. It provides that connection between what's happening in the classroom and what's happening in the real world. And they do it with so many different programs. Intel is engaged with the BEC and has been for over 25 years. I can only attest to having worked with the BEC for 14 of those years. So there's some history beyond me. But we've done it. We've engaged with the BEC because we know it's critical to make a strategic investment in education, and I can think of no better nonprofit to do that than the BEC. We work with them on a number of programs. One is the National Engineers Month, which occurs in February, where hundreds of engineers go out into classrooms and excite kids about the possibility of a career in science and engineering. Very exciting program that we'll hear more about today. We also support BEC's work in proficiency-based teaching and learning, where they help educators create that second classroom experience where they push students to work at their own level and their own pace, but making sure that all skills are mastered before they complete a class. We also participate with BEC in their internship program, and that's the one I want to focus the most on this morning. We've actually had 3,700 BEC students work at Intel over the last couple decades. And they are amazing students. Many of them are actually full-time employees now at Intel, and they got their start at the BEC. One of them I'll get to introduce today, but I want to talk a little bit about the program because it is so easy to participate. Like I said, we've had over 3,700 interns at Intel, and that wouldn't have happened if it required a heavy lift. I was the coordinator at Intel for years with this program, and that's a term that I have to say doesn't really encompass what my job was, because I was really the advocate, the champion of the program, and BEC did all the work. Thank you, BEC. You were fantastic. They serve as the employer of record. They do recruitment. They do the screening. They do the orientation for both the students and the managers. They are full service. But besides making it easy, they make that connection between what's happening in the classroom and what we as employers need and help develop that future workforce. These kids, we're not doing them any favors by bringing them into the workforce. They're doing us a huge favor because they're doing real work. They actually help us achieve our business goals in very, very real and exciting and challenging ways. But it's also very exciting to help develop them and to see them grow in their own education experience. So I want to introduce you to just one of the students that is working at Intel right now. I've had the opportunity to get to know the student very well because he works in the same team as I do. And he's right in the back. His name is Maxim Trotinko. He's a sophomore at Portland State University, and he is the manager of Intel's Information Center, where he hosts thousands of people each year and educates them about our company. So help me welcome up Maxim.
So good morning, everybody. As Morgan mentioned, my name is Maxim, and I'm a current intern. I want to share my experience with the Business Education Compact. I'm currently interning at Intel Corporation, as Morgan mentioned, working on within the Corporate Affairs group and more directly within the Northwest Public Affairs team. My internship experience has really been a dynamic one. I've got to see a lot of different angles of what Intel does, and to be honest with you, before starting, I couldn't have imagined some of the events that I've got to work on and some of the folks that I've got to meet. To save you some time and save you some boredom, I'll only explain a few of my roles here at Intel. Primarily, the ones I want to talk about are my involvement in the Intel Involved program, as well as my management of the Intel Oregon Information Center. The Intel Involved program is Intel's volunteer initiative and community engagement effort. At Intel, over 40% of our employees volunteer in a significant amount of time. On top of that, we match every hour they volunteer $10 per hour. So for example, say Morgan volunteers at the Oregon Food Bank, 20 hours, Intel will then go ahead and match that $200 for her volunteer time. Now, to make that volunteer program work takes a lot of legwork, and that's where people like me come into work. For example, I want to run you through a scenario of something that I could be working on. Say, for example, the Oregon Food Bank has a large need in December. They would contact someone from within our team, in some cases myself, and they would explain their need to us, and we would go ahead and partner with them to develop and organize an event where we would recruit Intel employees to come out and support their event. So for example, they have a packing party. They come to us with this need. I would then go ahead and handle all of the communications through a few different channels, one of them being the Intel volunteer newsletter that I manage, send it out to all the Intel employees, and then give my best effort to recruit as much possible Intel employees to come out to this event. Then I would go ahead and follow up with all of these employees and the nonprofit to make sure that their hours are being matched and their hours are actually being accredited to them. Now that's just one of my roles. Another role I want to speak about is my management of the Intel Oregon Information Center. And what this essentially is an Intel museum. We use this space to host student groups anywhere from 5th grade through the international university level, as well as small business and community groups. Our focus for the center really is to excite the public about the opportunities that the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics fields offer. STEM is a really great initiative that the public really doesn't see the value sometimes in. My primary focus is with the student groups. I really try to excite them about the opportunities that math and science offer in particular. Often I tell students, they have these cool inventions, so their Xbox 360, your iPhone, your iPad, all the capabilities your computer has, that's all done through math and science, and I tell them that if you want to see any cool inventions in the future, and I'm talking about real inventions, I'm not talking about things like the Snuggie, with all due respect to their sales numbers, but real inventions like, a teleportation machine or a flying car for every family, which may seem like crazy concepts today, the same as a TV or a computer were generations ago. I tell them that through math and science, this is achievable. And something that I've learned through managing the center is that the students who are in college today who are pursuing STEM careers are the same students who had real hands-on learning at some point with their life, whether that was in the classroom, whether that was through a nonprofit like the BEC, or whether that was through a science club. Hands-on learning is really a priceless experience, and that's exactly what the Business Education Compact offers. I'm here to tell you that within their mission statement, they say they want to make learning real, and I'm here to tell you that, in my case, mission accomplished. So as you consider your potential future involvement with the Business Education Compact, I just want to leave you with a little bit of food for thought that my life has really been altered and changed. The opportunities that I have going forward now from this internship, I could have never imagined in the beginning. So once again, thank you for coming out and letting me share my story with you.